Playoffs? Are you kidding me? Playoffs? The Denver Broncos are back in the postseason for the first time since the 2015 season, and they are set to take on the Buffalo Bills in the Wildcard round tomorrow, Sunday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. This Buffalo Bills team has been trying to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history and for the first time in the Josh Allen era. They have come up short time and time again in the playoffs, mostly due to their defense failing to rise to the occasion in big moments. You think about Josh Allen, he has played some elite football in the playoffs these last several years, but in 2021, the Chiefs defense gave up a big chunk play to Travis Kelce with 13 seconds left in the game. It allowed the Chiefs to get into field goal range for Harrison Butker. He kicked a game-tying field goal, and then the Chiefs ended up winning the coin toss. The Bills never got the opportunity to touch the ball in overtime, and they ended up losing the game. That forced a change in the playoff rules where now both teams have the opportunity to possess the ball in the playoffs. And spoiler alert, that could come into play in this game. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. The following year in 2022, Joe Burrow carved up their defense and Josh Allen was going toe-to-toe with him, but it ultimately didn't matter. Josh Allen and company could not make the necessary plays. Joe Burrow just completely torched that Bills defense. They lost in the divisional round. Then, the following year, they lost once again in the divisional round to the Kansas City Chiefs, where Patrick Mahomes carved up the defense. Once again, same crap, different year. This Bills team is trying to kill that narrative, much like the Denver Broncos have killed a bunch of narratives in their own right. You think about the Broncos, they killed their narrative last year, that losing streak to the Kansas City Chiefs. This year, they killed their losing streak to the Las Vegas Raiders, and they killed their non-playoff streak. So, both teams are coming into this with a chip on their shoulder and something to prove. Sean Payton said it himself, a young and hungry football team like the Denver Broncos is dangerous. They have not experienced the playoff heartbreak that the Buffalo Bills have, and there's not this sort of level of hesitancy and sort of worry that Buffalo Bills fans have. Denver Broncos fans are just happy to be here, quite frankly, and I definitely have expectations for this team moving forward, but if this team is able to go into Buffalo and upset the Bills, I will consider that a big win, icing on the cake for what has already been a very successful season. If you guys are unfamiliar with how we approach these game preview videos, we like to look at things from the opponent's perspective, break down their strengths and their weaknesses on their roster, and go over some of the areas where the Denver Broncos could attack them and hopefully be able to get a win. Before we do that though, guys, I do want to briefly go over the injury report and the practice squad elevations for both teams. The Buffalo Bills actually elevated a pair of former Denver Broncos for this game in Kareem Jackson and Jalen Virgil. Jackson has been on the practice squad for the Bills all season long, and then Jalen Virgil was picked up by the Bills after he was cut by Denver coming out of training camp this year. So both of those guys are getting action against their former team, and Buffalo actually has another former Denver Bronco in KJ Hamler on the practice squad. They were all return men for the Buffalo Bills, and their main return man, Brandon Codrington, is questionable for this game. So that's probably why the Bills ended up elevating Jalen Virgil, and I think they feel a little bit more confident about him as a return guy than they did KJ Hamler. So both Jalen Virgil and Kareem Jackson are going to be elevated against the Broncos for this game. As far as Denver's elevation, they brought up Matt Henningsen from the practice squad. I imagine it's going to be a similar circumstance as previous games in the year where Matt Henningsen is not going to dress for the game. This was just an elevation to reward him for all of his hard work and get him a game check, get him some extra money. But as far as injuries for the Broncos are concerned, the only guy listed as out is Frank Crum with an illness. He's been dealing with something for the last several weeks. Not sure what it is, but they actually put him on the non-football illness list, so he's out for the season. They needed to clear a roster spot because Tyler Bidet, his official injury designation is questionable, but he was activated to the roster today, so I do anticipate Tyler Bidet playing in this game. I actually think that he might even start in this game. Jaleel's been great, and I do believe that Jaleel is going to be RB1 in this game. Audric Estime will come in and sort of be that spell guy, but I do think they want to work Tyler Bidet in because he looked like the Broncos' most dynamic running back before he got injured in Week 4 against the New York Jets. So those are the injuries and the elevations for both teams. Let's go ahead and jump into this Buffalo Bills roster courtesy of my favorite website, RLads, and we've got to talk about Josh Allen first and foremost. He is what makes this Buffalo Bills team what it is. He is the straw that stirs the drink. He is probably going to win MVP this year. He has been sensational. 40 total touchdowns on the season, 28 passing touchdowns, 12 rushing touchdowns, 63.6% completion, 3,700 passing yards, 28 touchdowns through the air, 6 interceptions, 37 big-time throws, 7.1 big-time throw percentage, both first in the NFL amongst quarterbacks who have played 50% of snaps for their team, 15 turnover-worthy plays, 2.6 turnover-worthy play percentage, which is a lot lower than previous years for Josh Allen. If there's been one bugaboo for Josh, it's been turnovers, and that number has come down significantly this year. So the Bills are very happy about that. 8.8 yard average depth of target. He is also the second leading rusher for this Buffalo Bills team. He has got 102 carries for 531 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns, just 1 fumble, and 5 big runs, so runs of more than 20 plus yards. He has been sensational both through the air and on the ground. We all know that Josh Allen can make plays any different way you ask him to. No matter what the circumstances are, no matter what you give him defensively, he is still going to find a way to make you wrong. That is what elite quarterbacks do, and Josh Allen is the second best quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, besides Patrick Mahomes, because of his ability to make these style of plays. He's got a 52.2% success rate in the NFL, which is 6th in the NFL. First in expected points added per play. He's got a 0.8 completion percentage over expected, which I think is a flawed stat, but I'm going to include it anyway, which is 19th in the NFL. 8.4 air yards per attempt, which is 11th. He's taken just 14 sacks, which is first in the NFL amongst quarterbacks who have played at least 50% of snaps for their team. So Josh Allen is literally the hardest quarterback to sack, and his blitz numbers are actually reflective of that. Whenever you get pressure on Josh Allen, his completion percentage drops from 72% when kept clean to 41% when under pressure. However, teams are hesitant to blitz Josh Allen and bring more than 4 rushers because he can find an answer for that. By hot throws or scrambles, there are several different ways that Josh Allen can answer the blitz. In fact, he's only got 1 turnover-worthy play this year and just 2 interceptions when he has been blitzed. He's actually got, let's see here, it was 25 big-time throws to 14 turnover-worthy plays when not blitzed. So Josh Allen, if you want to end up getting pressure on him and effectively disrupt him, you have to do it with a 4-man rush. The Broncos have the ability to win with just 4 rushers because of guys like Nick Benito, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, Jonathan Cooper, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach. All of those guys, even Jonah Ellis, can win their one-on-one matchups up front. You can design blitzes with linebackers with guys like Justin Sternad and Cody Barton. Those are all ways that you can sim up pressure with just rushing 4 guys, and you can get Josh Allen disrupted that way. That is the most effective way to disrupt this Bills passing game. And additionally, if you're able to bring pressure, you can stuff their run game, and that will make this Bills offense kind of one-dimensional overall. I will give this team a lot of credit because ever since they let go of Stephon Diggs, they have become a much more diverse offense in terms of spreading the ball around. In fact, they have got 9 players on their roster with at least 200 receiving yards. Khalil Shakir is their number one receiver in terms of volume. 76 receptions, 821 yards, 10.8 average yards per catch, 4 touchdowns, and 9 big plays. So Khalil Shakir has been absolutely sensational, and he has good chemistry with Josh Allen. Their leader in receiving touchdowns is actually Mac Hollins with 5 receiving touchdowns. He's got 31 receptions for 378 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air. Dalton Kincaid, he's really good at the tight end position alongside Dawson Knox. Kincaid, he's actually the guy who has the more receiving yards amongst the two. 448 yards for Kincaid, just 311 yards for Dawson Knox, and then 2 touchdowns for Dalton Kincaid, just 1 touchdown for Dawson Knox. Then we've got to talk about Amari Cooper. He's come into the fold here, and he's got 297 receiving yards in a Buffalo Bills uniform on 20 catches, 2 touchdowns through the air for Amari Cooper. And then on the ground, you've got James Cook and Ty Johnson, who can be dynamic pass catchers as well. In fact, James Cook, 32 receptions, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson, 18 receptions, 284 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Both of those guys, very effective pass catchers out of the backfield. Josh Allen has so many different weapons that he can spread the ball around to. You've got the former first-round pick from this year, or second-round pick, Keon Coleman. Coleman on this season, 29 catches, 556 yards, 14.2 average, 4 touchdowns, and 12 big plays for him. They're all different kinds of guys that Josh Allen can get the ball to that Denver is going to have to take into account. Curtis Samuel as well. He's nobody to sneeze at. Because of all of these weapons that the Buffalo Bills have, as much as it makes me want to barf, I do think the Broncos are going to have to drop back and play zone coverage. But just because you're playing zone doesn't mean that you can't send pressure. You can send pressure from the nickel and drop a defensive lineman in coverage. That D lineman's just trying to occupy space in the passing game and kind of cloudy up the read for the quarterback for just 1 second, which will then allow the pressure to get home. So there are ways that you can scheme up pressure without having to blitz and get pressure on Josh Allen while playing zone coverage on the back end. I do think that Vance Joseph is going to have to dive deep into his bag of tricks in order to find some of these answers, but because of all these weapons, it's going to be hard to play man coverage against this Bills team. You're probably going to have to drop back and play zone. You're just going to have to make sure that you don't give Josh Allen time to sit back and pick you apart through the air like you have when you've played zone coverage previously, especially against a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. That's probably the most similar quarterback to what Denver has faced earlier on in the season that they're going to go up against now with Josh Allen. So that's going to be a tough game plan. Vance Joseph's going to have to decide if he wants to take his chances playing man coverage or, more realistically, drop back and play zone coverage. You're just going to have to find a way to generate pressure on Josh Allen no matter what. There are some weaknesses that you can exploit on this Bills offensive line, especially in this interior here with David Edwards, Connor McGovern. No, that is not the former Bronco Connor McGovern. That is the other Connor McGovern who was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, signed with the Bills in free agency, and then right guard Osiris Torrance. Those are guys that you can potentially win one-on-one matchups against. Zach Allen's probably going to get those double teams, so John Franklin Myers, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach. I'm looking at those guys to be able to generate pressure here, especially as Zach Allen is getting double teamed. You got Spencer Brown at right tackle, who has gotten a lot better over these past few years. It was really tough to start his career, but he's played better and actually earned an extension in Buffalo long term. And then you've got Dion Dawkins, their long-term left tackle. So those are guys who are going to be dealing with the edge rushers, Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, Jonah Ellis. We'll see if some of those guys are going to be able to win their one-on-one matchups against Dawkins and against Spencer Brown. Moving into this Buffalo Bills defense here, and the first guy that we've got to talk about on this Bills defense is, of course, Von Miller. Vaughn is listed as a backup edge rusher for this Bills defense. He predominantly comes in on third down pass rushing situations. He is trying to generate pressure on the quarterback. He's got 6 sacks on the year, 7 TFLs, which is third on the Bills team in both categories. Vaughn is still Vaughn. He may not be prime 2015 to 2017 Vaughn, but he's still Von Miller. He still has that patented spin move, that patented dip move, and he can still win his one-on-one matchups up front. He predominantly rushes against the right tackle, so Mike McGlinchey, be prepared to be facing against Von Miller in this game, mostly on third down situations. Vaughn is a lot healthier this time around than he was last year when the Denver Broncos and Mike McGlinchey went up against him. Vaughn himself said that he shouldn't have played last year as he was coming off of his torn ACL. This year he has made much more of an impact as a pass rusher, and I am a little bit worried about Mike McGlinchey, so if need be, chip with the tight end. Put Adam Troutman or maybe even Nate Atkins. That's probably the better idea. Chip with Nate Atkins and then release him in the flat. That way Mike McGlinchey has some help over there against Von Miller. You've got Greg Rousseau, who leads the team in TFLs with 16 and sacks with 8. So that is the other guy on the edge that you're really going to have to pay attention to. AJ Epinesa, 6 sacks as well. So he is also somebody you're going to have to pay attention to. This Bills defense, they've got some guys that can play for sure. But as far as an overall passing defense is concerned, they do have some weaknesses, and those are weaknesses that the Denver Broncos could look to exploit. 4,100 pass yards allowed, which is 22nd in the NFL. 68.5 completion percentage allowed, which is 28th. 7.1 yards per attempt allowed, which is 18th. 28 passing touchdowns allowed, which is 24th. 16 interceptions total, which is 6th. Not bad. 37.5 first down percentage allowed, which is 30th. 43 20-plus yard passing plays allowed, which is 5th. Can't read my own handwriting there. 39 sacks, which is 18th. 48.6 drop back percent success rate allowed, which is 24th. And they are 20th in drop back EPA per play allowed. This Bills secondary does have the tendency to give up some big plays. Damar Hamlin, he's given up some big plays as a starter. Rasul Douglas as their nickel. Teron Johnson, Taylor Rapp at safety. This secondary has been a little bit suspect for the Buffalo Bills. Christian Benford is one of your starting boundary corners. You got Cam Lewis, who I believe was benched on the season. So, yeah, that's definitely not a top-tier unit on this Bills secondary, and these passing numbers are very reflective of that. The Denver Broncos could have the opportunity to generate some plays here for Bo Nix. As far as their coverage tendencies are concerned, they play mostly cover 3 on first down, on early rundowns, so that's to be expected. You're going to either play cover 1 or cover 3 on early rundowns. They call cover 3 at 19.1%. I'm sorry, they call cover 1 at 19.1%, which is 22nd in the NFL. So they don't call a whole lot of cover 1. It's mostly cover 3 on early rundowns. And then on pass downs, their most called coverage is cover 2. So that might be some opportunities with the middle of the field open to attack post routes, deep shots with Marvin Mims. That's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. They also call a lot of quarters coverage and quarter, half. All of those are middle of the field open coverages where all that space in the middle of the field is going to be available for Bo Nix to attack. And some of Bo Nix's biggest plays have come down the middle of the field. Sometimes just seam shots running straight down the middle of the field with a guy like Marvin Mims or even maybe Troy Franklin. That could be a way that the Broncos could finally connect on a deep shot between Bo Nix and Troy Franklin. So those are these coverage tendencies that the Denver Broncos could look to exploit with them playing a lot of split field, too high, middle of the field open coverage. I'm really excited to see how Sean Payton wants to attack that. As far as this Bills run game is concerned, I actually briefly need to touch on that. James Cook, 1,000-yard rusher, 16 touchdowns on the ground, a long of 65. Ray Davis is their second leading rusher, aside from Josh Allen. Josh Allen is their second leading rusher. Ray Davis is their second amongst running backs. 113 carries, 442 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ty Johnson, 41 carries, 213 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown for him. So, yeah, this Bills run game is nothing to sneeze at, and the Denver Broncos are going to have to find a way to take advantage of that. So, going back into this defense, though, with their run defense, they are a lot better defending the run than they are defending the pass. They've got guys like Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, even Von Miller at times when he's in there on early downs. He's really good at stopping the run. DeJuan Smoot, Quentin Jefferson, Jordan Phillips, all of these guys are really solid run defenders, and they have just the 12th most rush yards in the NFL allowed, or 12th least rush yards in the NFL allowed, 1,963 rush yards allowed, 4.5 yards per carry, 13 rush touchdowns, 25.1 first down rush percentage, which is 18th. So overall, this Bills run defense, they are a lot more stout against the run than they are against the pass. And the Denver Broncos have had their issues running the football. Hopefully they're able to establish something with Tyler Bidet, with Jaleel McLaughlin, with Audric Estime in order to counter that. They are 5th in rush EPA per play allowed, so they do not give up a whole lot on the ground. Their leading tackler on the year is Dorian Williams. Terrell Bernard is their second leading tackler with 104 tackles. Dorian Williams has 117. Damar Hamlin has 89 tackles at the safety position, and then Taylor Rapp has 82 tackles at the safety position as well. So those are all guys that come downhill in order to defend the run for the Buffalo Bills. Keys to victory for this Denver Broncos team. The best defense against Josh Allen is your offense. Keep Josh Allen on the sideline. Go on these long, sustained drives. Try to go on 7, 8, 9, 10-minute drives and keep Josh Allen off the field. Establish the run game. Establish the screen game, the swing pass game as an extension of the run game, and drain the clock down and try to go on these long, sustained drives. Get the run game going with all of the guys that I mentioned. I think Jaleel McLaughlin and Tyler Bidet are going to get the lion's share of the workload, and then they'll sprinkle in Audric Estime, mostly on short yardage situations, and then Javonte Williams will come in his usual third down back role. So it's going to be kind of tough getting all 4 running backs on the field. We'll see who the hot hand is, and maybe Sean Payton wants to ride the hot hand. Stay ahead of the chains. Do not shoot yourself in the foot. Don't jump off sides on defense. No pre-snap penalties on offense. No stupid pass interference penalties. Don't give the refs any reason to throw the flag. You cannot beat this Buffalo Bills team, especially on the road, if you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and beat yourself. So you cannot have any of these self-inflicted wounds. You've got to stay ahead of the chains. Dial up shot plays in short yardage situations. So that's when we're hoping to see those play action shots, maybe a shot down the middle of the field with Troy Franklin, with Marvin Mims, these short yardage situations, 2nd down and 1, 3rd down and 1, especially when you're towards the middle of the field, you'll go for it on 4th down. These are all opportunities for you to take advantage of those shot plays deep downfield if you are the Denver Broncos. Be aware of where Von Miller is at all times. If he's on the field, give Mike McGlinchey some help like I talked about earlier. You do not want Mike McGlinchey on an island with Von Miller. That could spell disaster in this game. Feed Courtland Sutton early and often. Get him involved. Bo Nix, that is clearly his favorite target, is Courtland Sutton. We want Bo Nix to also get an early groove. That is my next point. So I definitely think that if you get Courtland Sutton in a rhythm early, you can get Bo Nix in a rhythm early, and those two can sort of feed off of each other, and that could lead to some success for this Denver Broncos passing game. As far as on the defensive side of the ball is concerned, As I said earlier, you want to generate pressure on Josh Allen with a 4-man rush. That could be the most effective way to mitigate this Bills passing attack. And if you do have to drop back and play zone, again, like I said, you've got to find a way to generate pressure and not give Josh Allen time to just passively sit in the pocket, and pick you the hell apart like he can. So, yeah, those are all going to be keys with Josh Allen. Keep James Cook contained on the ground. If James Cook starts to get going and he starts to have a big game on the ground, then you're probably not going to have much of a chance to control the clock in your own right. This game might end up being a more high-scoring affair than you would imagine. We talked about earlier on in this video how the new NFL overtime rules could come into play. I think that at the end of regulation, this game is going to be tied at 21. I do think that Denver's going to lose the coin toss, and Buffalo is going to defer their option to the Denver Broncos. Again, it's the new playoff rules where both teams have the opportunity to touch the ball. Denver is going to march downfield. They are going to score a touchdown, and they are going to score a 2-point conversion. Buffalo will then get the ball back. Josh Allen, he's going to be elite. He's going to be Josh Allen. He's going to drive downfield. They're going to respond. But remember, the best they can do is tie with a 2-point conversion. They'll get it. Then it'll become sudden death, and the Broncos will have the first opportunity to possess the ball. They will drive downfield, and they will get into field goal range for Will Lutz, and they will kick the game-winning field goal. So I have the Denver Broncos winning this game 32-29. I think that a young and hungry team is dangerous. I think that once again this Bills defense is going to crap the bed in big moments. And I think that this is going to be Sean McDermott's last game coached as a Buffalo Bills head coach. So it may be a hot take. It may be a spicy take, but I could very easily see it happening because of the level of football that this Broncos team is capable of playing at. And this Bills team might be overlooking the Denver Broncos, who are coming into Buffalo young and hungry. Alright guys, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. And let me know in the comment section below, guys, how do you feel this game is going to go and what is your score prediction? Alright guys, and until next time, I will see you on the game live stream. I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.